Now we want to get again to NBC's Julie Tsirkin. She is near Mar-a-Lago this morning with the very latest. Again, Julie, will hear from the president in a matter of hours this morning. He was the one who made that announcement only a couple of hours after we first heard reports from eyewitnesses on the ground of those fiery explosions taking place in and around Caracas.
That's right, Peter. And at least some of the questions that we've been asking are beginning to be answered. And that is because we have a new post, some new information from Attorney General Pam Bondi, who posted on X a short moment ago. This is a new update since we last spoke, Peter, saying Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, have been indicted in the Southern District of New York. Remember, this is where Maduro was indicted nearly 6 years ago on drug trafficking charges and narco-terrorism charges. And now, of course, we know, according to Bondi, he has been charged with narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, and conspiracy to possess machine guns and those destructive devices against the United States. Bondi going on to say that Maduro and his wife will soon face the full wrath of American justice on American soil in American courts. And as you've been laying out all hour, Peter, all morning long, this is just the latest step, the latest escalation in what we've seen from the administration over the last 6 months that started with the targeting of alleged drug boats off the coast of Venezuela in September that had killed more than 100 people since those operations began. We know there was a land strike that took place for the very first time over this last week. And of course, Congress, Democrats and Republicans asking very key questions, including what authority the administration had. We know Secretary of State Marco Rubio has been working the phones in these early morning hours trying to brief some lawmakers of why this took place and why now. And of course, many more questions will be answered later this morning, we hope, from the president at his news conference. Peter.
Julie, we should note that immediately after the president's statements, we were hearing from some within Venezuela, including one of Maduro's former deputies, saying that they wanted proof of life of Nicolás Maduro to know where he was. We've reached out to the White House, the Pentagon and State Department, of course, as you have, to try to get more of that information. But we also heard from the Venezuelan government, the remnants of the now decapitated regime, describing this as an extremely serious military aggression taking place there right now. Among the real questions and the criticism you can see is under what authorities the U.S. conducted this action. Already some lawmakers are making that the sort of source of their criticism so far.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And of course, under Article 1, only Congress has the power to declare war. And so that is why you're hearing mostly from Democrats, I will say, this morning in trying to question the administration's authority here. But we also heard from somebody like Mike Lee, for example, a Republican, a constitutional lawyer by trade. In the years that I've covered him on Capitol Hill, he has long taken issue with the executive branch, in his words, overextending in these moments and acting perhaps unlawfully, as Congress has not yet made the step to declare any kind of war, certainly not with Venezuela. In this case, though, Mike Lee, who has not criticized the administration, especially in his second term, talking with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, trying to get that justification and posting and revealing to X that the justification for this kinetic strike was to protect the service members carrying out the operation on the ground, to extract Nicolás Maduro from Caracas along with his wife, and to face these charges that Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, had just laid out. So, of course, such a big series of questions that we have to ask this morning, including where this goes from here. We know that Congress has only been briefed once when it comes to the aggression and escalation that we've seen from the United States military on these drug boats, for example, these alleged drug boats, on these oil tankers that the administration has been intercepting over the last couple of weeks, stating that these tankers are carrying sanctioned oil in some cases. And during that briefing, which happened a couple of weeks before the holiday break, lawmakers that I spoke to didn't get answers to key questions like what does happen to Maduro? Is the goal regime change? Including from some Republican allies of the president, like Lindsey Graham, for example. They didn't get answers to those questions then. Some Democrats in that room, like Andy Kim, the senator from New Jersey, saying that they asked point blank whether regime change was being pursued, and they were told no. Again, the administration we've seen acts first and then perhaps fills Congress in later when it comes to a number of strikes that it has conducted around the world, in the Middle East, not only in Venezuela. This one, perhaps the biggest source of heartburn for some lawmakers, including Democrats, in terms of what happens next. Will Congress try to rein in the president and the administration's power? Unlikely so when it comes to this reaction that we're seeing from Republicans, who do have the power, of course, in Congress in D.C. But, of course, many questions remain, including what authority the administration used. According to Attorney General Pam Bondi, they're following through on an arrest warrant that began with an indictment of Nicolás Maduro nearly 6 years ago now, Peter.
Julie Tsirkin with the very latest, traveling with the president. Notably, Julie raises the topic of oil as well. Venezuela famously has the largest oil reserves in the world, believed to be more than 300 million barrels. A lot of questions will take place not just around who governs that country, but what happens to its oil right now. The president already saying that they would seize the oil from that sanctioned oil tanker the U.S. had collected only a matter of weeks ago.
Which would be very different than an indictment in the Southern District of New York on criminal charges for something completely unrelated.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.